All right, guys, welcome back to the third episode of BAM, Bobby and Matt's. How you doing today, Matt?
I am doing great. You know, we're here in sunny Melbourne and it's a great day. And as usual, we've had another week of lots going on in the camera world, haven't we, Bobby? And I know that you've got some hot things in your hands that we may
I
or may
do.
not talk about in this episode.
I got a couple of things, but first and foremost, most important question of the day. What is this AO hat? What is this? Explain to me what this is.
That's the Australian Open. So that's the tennis. That's one of the 5 Grand Slams in the world. You know, we've got these amazing, where these tennis players make enormous amounts of money. And my wife and I, we're big. My wife is a bigger tennis fan, but we love going to the tennis. And it's just a really nice hat. And so
I love
that's
it.
it.
I love it.
It's
Yeah,
not
'cause I love
sponsored.
the
It's not
logo.
anything. Yeah. Oh, it's a great logo, isn't it? They've totally got it right. So that's the Australian Open, which is obviously on in January. And so we've had it, and this is my latest hat. There you go.
Awesome, man.
We kind of get one every year.
So we're gonna see a new hat every season on the Matt Irwin show. A new AO hat.
Yeah. Well, I've actually got. It's funny you should talk about. I had no plan to talk about this, but I actually have made a fair bit of merch, and I need to start. I need to actually buy some of it myself so I can wear it on camera and then say, "Hey, get the merch." Yes.
Yeah, you should.
Now I'm sorry. Go on.
Yeah, no. I was gonna say you should promote the merch. Promote the merch. Get it out there. You know.
Yeah, got to promote the merch. Now, I'd like to say welcome to Robbie and welcome to Hassan. Thank you for joining us. It's great to
Hello,
have
Robbie.
you here. Please like and any questions about anything that Bobby and I might be up to this week. Now, I can see the name of this episode. You've put it number 1, the Sigma 300 to 600. What did you want to talk about in regards to that? Oh, do you have it? Oh, no. Oh,
I
Bobby.
don't think you can see this
Jeez.
on camera. Let me tell you how heavy this
Wow.
thing is. This is not for the faint of heart.
No.
This is not for the faint of heart at all. This is
It's 4 kilos, isn't it, Bobby? I believe.
oh man, I don't know what it is, but the bag is a backpack. It's literally a
Right.
backpack. Like you have
Yeah.
straps and you could literally travel with this thing. Obviously it doesn't have a lens cap on the front of it, but you can see the front element on this thing. Look at that.
Yep.
This is the lens.
Yep.
I mean, it is absolutely massive. I've been playing with it though, and wow. But you better work out. You better hit the gym.
Now, Bobby, have you put that on the front of the B? Is it the BF? Have you put it on the front of the BF yet?
I have not.
Do you think they're supposed to go together?
You know what? Well, I don't have the L mount version of this. This is only the E mount right now. So,
Right.
But Sigma will. I'm sure they'll have some demonstrations with the BF on it. But you're not going to hold the camera alone with this. You're basically holding it here at the tripod, footing it this and balancing it because the BF is just basically going to be a very pretty lens cap compared to this thing or back cap.
Yeah, and now it's something like 4 kilos, so it's an unbelievable lens. It's a 300 to 600 f4 through the range, and Bobby's just showing us his guns there by holding on to this thing.
Yeah. It sounds like what a monster of a lens. Yeah, it is.
So tell us a little bit about it. Have you had any time at all to play with it? And I've just realised my camera's not plugged into power, so I'm just going to let you talk about that for a minute while I sort my power issue out.
Sure, no problem at all. Yeah, I've actually played with it for a couple days. I'm taking it with me later on today to shoot a good friend of mine, his son's baseball team. They're playing a game. So I thought this would be a great way to take this out. Probably going to throw it onto, might try on the A9 III. Give that a shot, see how that performs on that. Because obviously fast action and also see how the burst rate works with this lens. Because obviously with third-party lenses and Sigma and Sony, how does it work? So, yeah, I'm excited to see how that plays out. But even if it's not 120 frames per second, per se, even if it's 15 or 20, I mean, I'm excited to see how this performs. But, I mean, it is...
Okay, so
yeah. Yeah, what's up?
So you've got the E mount version. It also comes in L mount. That's what I was talking about, the BF.
Yeah. Because the BF, if I had the L mount version, it would be on the BF, or I would put it onto the S1R2, which I finally got in hand. So, yeah, it is... I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this lens, but it is, I mean, for the price point around 6K USD, right? I mean, this is expensive for Sigma, but I think it's going to be a very good value for a lot of people out there that want a 300 to 600 and an F4 straight across, which is pretty damn impressive, you know?
Yeah. And now you were talking about frame rate. So what goes on there with the Sony cameras? Because I think I saw the CEO of Sigma talking about the fact that he couldn't talk about that issue, which is explain to us, because you know a bit more about Sony's than I do.
Well, there is a bit of a limitation when it comes to what Sony allows third-party manufacturers to use. You know what I mean? So in terms of actually maximizing the frame rates and the speeds and the burst modes in their cameras respectively. Now they have opened it up. I think Tamron has some lenses that you can actually use as well. This is from the Sigma's page here. Absolutely beautiful lens. But it is one of those things where I would say if Sony allows it to happen, it would be absolutely awesome to see it because this lens deserves it. But again, it's up to Sony if they allow these things, because this is one of the reasons why people will gravitate to a native Sony lens is for the full performance benefits on the respective cameras, A9 III, A1 Mark II, respectively. Now, when you're on, let's say, an A7R5, it's not going to really matter because your burst modes are not going to be that fast anyway. But when you get into the high performance cameras, that's where they sort of limit it so far. But they're slowly releasing it.
And it's something like 15 frames a second. The AF maxes out. Is it something like that? I can't remember what the number is.
I think the burst mode, the AF is there all the way through, but the burst mode, if I'm not mistaken, from when I tested out the A9 III last time, I think it was around 15, 20 frames per second. Somebody probably can comment and let us know as well.
So the reality is it's still pretty epic levels of speed anyway. So it's you know, I mean, I would like, if do we have any sports shooters in the comments, and could you let us know, you know, does anyone shoot more than 20 frames or 30 frames a second a lot? You know, does anybody do that? Because I still will argue I don't think there's many people that spend a lot of their time shooting at 120 frames per second in stills. You know,
no,
it's pretty crazy.
It's a lot of frames to get through. I mean, when I tried it with the A9 III before, I mean, it's great to have it in a pinch, but if you're going to consistently do that, you really are just going through a lot of images to get one or two. You know, I mean, it's at a point of no return where you're like, okay, this is a bit much, you know, but if you need it, if it's your job and you're, let's say, at the Australian Open, for example, or you're at
the tennis.
Formula One this weekend, and you need that critical shot, that's it. You know, it's a big weekend for you guys too in Melbourne, huh? Big weekend.
Yeah, F1. I tell you, it's all happening, and I can hear the scream of the cars from here if the wind is blowing in the right direction. Even so, I'm maybe about 8 kilometers away, but yeah, they are loud, those things. Do you go to the F1? Because Bobby's in Singapore, and that's part of the calendar.
Yeah, I've been to it a few times. You know, it's easier to get when you're invited to go there because you get some of the better seats. You know, but I love going to Formula One. It's absolutely awesome here. The night race, they really do a great job here in Singapore, and you need a night race in Singapore. It's just too hot during the day. It's even hot at night, but in the daytime, it would be very, very difficult.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that if you want to photograph it as a professional, it's very, very hard to get accredited. And I'm lucky enough to have been there because a friend of mine has classic cars, and they are, you know, part of the whole F1 thing is to, you know, have this demonstration of classic cars. He gets some free tickets. So I actually went last year, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Awesome. And I've got another friend of mine who's a complete F1, you know, he is into it up to his eyeballs. And he was telling me how there's more races around the world than ever now. They added like another, are you aware of that? I don't know much about it, but they've...
Yeah, with the American group, I think that's in charge of Formula One, they've added a lot more races, even in the U.S. now, Las Vegas, respectively. They're trying to, you know, boost the American market because of obviously with Drive to Survive was a huge hit. I mean, it's a worldwide phenomenon in terms of reality shows and racing, and it kind of just boosted the sport to a bigger audience than it was before because it was always quite niche, more European, more, you know, more higher upper class because obviously the price points, the entry level to get into this sport is very expensive. You know, so, but I think Drive to Survive sort of opened it up to the mass market, and now they get to know the personalities of the drivers, what teams they're on, the managers, all that stuff, all the drama behind the scenes. So I think people are very interested. So I think we'll probably see even more races down the road. But again, it means more money for the team. So how much money can they withstand and how much can they afford to? Because every race, if a car goes down, that's, I mean, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in repair or fixing. And that all adds up after a period of time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I love cars and F1 to a certain extent, but we are a photography podcast, so
Yes, we are.
let's revert back to that. That's my fault. I got us down the F1 rabbit hole. Sorry, everybody who's watching, and you might not be into F1, but of course, Bobby was holding one of the appropriate lenses for F1 in the beautiful Sigma 300 to 600 that we look forward to you reviewing, Bobby. Now, we also wanted to talk a little bit about the new Viltrox. Which new Viltrox did you have in mind? Because there's so many. The Viltrox just keep it on.
I mean, the announcement's coming out with that 135 1.8 for Z-mount. But by the way, before we go into that, Matt, we've got a comment from Hassan here. Question.
Oh, yes.
Sigma stated that they want to build a camera to match that lens. Why not that camera first, then the BF?
It's a great question.
I heard, based on what people said when they were at CP Plus, that the CEO did mention that he wanted to build a more traditional camera or looking into doing that. And I mean, it does sort of make sense if he does that, because you look at the autofocus performance in the BF, it is really good for what it is. And if they're able to put in that small of a camera, imagine what they do in like a pro type of camera. I mean, they would do some really good things. But it probably would have a very unique design, because Sigma is not about traditional in any way, shape, or form, especially when it comes to camera design. So I would welcome it. I would love to have an EVF. I would love to have a more of a traditional body, but Sigmaized, if you want to say it that way. So it's to have a little bit more unique design.
Well, it's interesting because I was looking up Sigma cameras, and it appears that back in the film days, I think they made cameras and more traditional cameras. But we now live in a world where camera, the R&D, the cost of R&D to bring a camera to market, I think is very, very expensive. So I think they're making some pretty smart decisions in creating a camera that, is stripped down and beautiful, but that it actually also, is probably less expensive to create that camera, as in the research and development, not the individual costs. Like to see them come out with a Z8 or an S1 R2 or something, I do genuinely wonder whether, that's just too big a stretch for that company. Just, and too big a risk, to be honest, because we already see it with Panasonic. They have lots of money. They make absolutely beautiful cameras, but they're still fighting for market share, aren't they? And if you saw Sigma spending that much money as well, and they've got to fight for the full frame market share below Panasonic, that's a tough gig. You want to sell some cameras. Like if you spend $10 million, let's say, like I have no idea what it costs to bring a camera like the Z8 or the A1 to market, but I'm guessing it's millions and millions of dollars. You've got to sell a lot of units before you break even. It's a big deal.
But the way Sigma rolls, I don't think it's always about the profit margin. I think it's about making a statement sometimes, So they could come out with something. It could be a limited run. It could be a small batch and saying, look, because they have their own manufacturing. I mean, they do their own, they have, I think, their own magnesium factory or plant or something like that. So they make a lot of the materials themselves. So they have all the resources now. It's just about doing it. So I mean, it'd be fascinating to see if they do it. It would be a very interesting move. And I think now with the buzz going around in the L mount, there's more popularity than it was a number of years back, especially thanks to Lumix and Leica, of course. And then with Sigma now with these lenses and the BF, I think there would be more eyeballs and more interest to say, hey, let's give it a shot if it's priced affordable, because at least there's a lens lineup. Previously, when let's say when Panasonic launched the S1, S1R, S1H respectively, I mean, it was really the SL series from Leica with minimal lenses because they were all very expensive, and then Panasonic with a few lenses. So Sigma was coming in kind of bringing their DGDN line, but it wasn't like they have the amount of lenses as they do today. So it opens up a very interesting market. I don't know. But Hassan, very good question. We'll see. I guess we'll see in due time. Probably not for another year or two, but I mean, if they do come out with it, should be quite fun. All right, go back to what's up?
I mean, what would Hassan like to see? What camera? Like an A1 style camera or an A9? You let us know, Hassan. But let's move on to Viltrox.
Yes. So it looks like we're getting something from Viltrox this year, or very, very soon, I should say, right? 135.
Well, I mean, I think I saw on Nikon Rumors this morning it's obviously an official pre-announcement of the 135 1.8 lab lens. Is that the one you're talking about, Bobby?
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. What do you think on this one?
Well, I mean, it's an official announcement. The lens already exists in E-mount. I think, it's there. It is there. It is. It's coming out on the 19th, which is when's that? That's in 5 days' time. I'm excited. Wow. I'm excited. I've heard from you that the E-mount version is very spectacular, and I have no reason to think I have no reason to think that the Z-mount version won't be any different at all. And to me, the biggest question is for Nikon users is what do they think compared to the Planner? And obviously, there's a significant price difference. Albeit, I mean, is there a price written on there, Bobby, on Nikon Rumors? I can't quite see that on my screen.
No, I don't see a price on it right now. Well, I mean, they're saying
no. That's for the 16 mil. What's the E-mount version worth? It'll be the same as the E-mount. So I think it's $799 or $899, and whereas the Planner, the Planner is.
Planner's a couple $1,000s, right? $2,000 dollars.
Yeah, two or 2.5. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll probably be about the same price. I'm guessing. I don't think they're going to change the price point for E-mount to be less expensive than Z-mount. If anything, probably be the same. But it'll be interesting to see what the performance is like against the Plana, because I think this is obviously the Plana is a gorgeous lens. You own that lens, right?
I do, and it is a spectacular lens. It does what it says on the sticker. And I mean, I don't want to sound like a Nikon fanboy, but Nikon, they told us that this is a larger image area than any of the other Z lenses. And maybe the only other one that fits in this category is the Noct, which of course the Noct is very old now and it's fully manual. Whereas the Plana is fully automated, AF, aperture, and so on. Obviously, it's not a 0.95, it's a 1.8. Significant difference. But, you and I have both played with the Noct, and the Noct is actually not at the same optical... With things like the suppression of chromatic aberration and a few other bits and pieces, this was the very start of the Z-mount, and all of the lens manufacturers have advanced so much, even in that area of chromatic aberration and aberrations, in the last 8 years or 7 years. And so the Plana sits in this place where not only is it the largest image area, but it's so optically correct in camera. Like, it's optically correct. And, whether Viltrox have come to the same level or not, who knows? But it's the Plana of all of these. Even in a way, it could be probably argued that all of the 1.2s, they're 1.2s, but the Plana may actually be optically even better because it's got a larger image circle. So that's really interesting, and there's no real way to test that. I mean, maybe I should... Let me know in the comments below, should we do a test of the 85 versus the 135? The 85 1.2 versus the 135 Plana. It's possible.
Do you have the 85
because
as well?
I do. And there was one thing, and I never followed it up. I was out shooting with those two lenses one day, and I put them both at 1.8. And it was like, the Plana looks brighter at 1.8 than the 85. So it's possible that the T-stops, the light transmission, is even better on the Plana at 1.8. And so things like that, and these things are so subtle, and they're so, like, the use cases, the people that it matters to is so tiny. And as you and I both know, Bobby, there's so many things that we can make videos about. For example, I can't wait to get my hands on the new Viltrox 135 and do a side-to-side test between the Plana and the Viltrox, and it will happen. I will do it. And I'll tell you something else on top of that. I happen to have the Sony 135 1.8 as well. And I will be testing. I will make a video at some point with all three of those side by side.
Wow.
So it's so niche. It's, and I'm a big nerd, so I loved just diving into that. But is this relevant to everybody? Probably not. But it'd still be lots of fun.
I mean, the Sony is a fantastic lens. That 135 G Master is a gorgeous, gorgeous lens. And it's a decent size for what it produces. I mean, Sony, you got to give Sony credit. They make some really good optics and compact sizing. I mean, Nikon is, you need to hit the gym, Matt. It's not for the faint of heart, some of these lenses, But the Plana,
they are heavier. It's true.
But with the Plana, even for me, like, a lot of people talk about photography with it, but even as a video lens, it's a gorgeous lens. Like, I did one I did used it when I had it for review. I had it for a couple weeks, and I actually shot some B-roll of products that I was doing for other reviews, right? Just trying it out because I predominantly use a lot of Nikon cameras when I'm shooting this stuff. And the fall off, the bokeh, the separation when you're doing B-roll, I mean, it was gorgeous. It just gave me this dimensionality. I was like, wow, look at my shots here. I loved it. But I would love to get that lens back in my hand, but who knows? It's one of those things. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I was doing some B-roll for a lens review that's coming up, and the A cam I was shooting with the 50mm 1.2, and then I just thought I'll just do the B-roll with the 50mm, and it's just close-ups. And yes, what you're talking about there, and it's a look that can't be got any other way. So yes, these lenses are large, but wow, they create looks. So it's up to you. It's up to you how important the look is versus how big your guns are. You know, that's all there is to it. So yeah, look, I'm very excited about the 135 from Viltrox, and you know, we'll see next week. I'm sure there'll be lots of reviews coming out as to where it fits in and how good it is. Now, if anybody's got any questions, please let us know in the comments below. And if you want to hit the like button, that'll really help support this video and Bobby's channel. And don't forget, we're doing this alternatively week. 1 week on Bobby's channel, 1 week on my channel. And Bobby, you've got some exciting new computers by the look of it in your life.
We do. We've got the new MacBook Air, the MacBook Air M4. So that is something that I have to say, did a review on it, and this is, I mean, obviously the M4 chipset is fantastic, and you're running a MacBook Pro, right?
I have the M1 and I have the Studio M2 Ultra. They're the two latest Macs that I have. Yes.
Wow. Yep. Okay. So the M4 obviously is, you know, it's the latest chipset. We saw it come out last year with the iPad Pro. That was the first time we saw the M4. Then respectively the Mac Mini, the iMac, now with this MacBook Air. And it's, I mean, I have to tell you, I was testing this out, and I did show a little bit in my video as well, but it handles most of what I need to do in terms of even just creating content for this channel, editing content, all that stuff. It handles it with no issues at all. I mean, and I was running on DaVinci Resolve. I was doing color grading, doing some face refinement. I was playing around with, you know, different layers, and just, I mean, I was quite impressed at how efficient it is for what, because usually when you look at an Air, you think to yourself, okay, there's a limitation to an Air, and there is. Obviously, there's a reason why there's a Pro machine. You know, you need something a little bit larger enclosure. You need fans, obviously a stronger GPU. But when you get into more of that AI software, that's where the GPU kicks in. But if your day-to-day tasks are just editing photos in Lightroom and Photoshop, and you want to do a little bit of video editing, 4K video editing, you can do some 6K as well. I tried it. It works great. You're not intensive on the graphics or the effects on video, but you're just putting together a nice YouTube video, you know, kind of simple to the point. You know, I think this is going to be more than enough for a lot of you out there. It's just, it was a really impressive machine.
So do you think it could handle 8K? Because I remember the first M1 that I got was the Mac Mini, and it could do 8K. Yeah. It just was slow at rendering. Like it took 2 times real time or something like that.
Memory, but again, when you're depending what kind of 8K you're shooting, if you go, let's say red raw, use a Pro. You know what I mean? Red is very taxing on any machine in terms of 8K. But if you're going, let's say Nikon 8K, it'll handle it. I mean, obviously you'd probably have to edit in proxy versus, you know, editing in high quality, let's say for Resolve, but it can handle it. It can. But if you're putting a lot of different timelines together and you're putting a lot of stuff on that, then you're going to want to go, you're going to get throttling coming into play. You'll want to go Pro. But if you're just doing, let's say, a simple timeline or some clips in 8K, it's fine.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, they're very affordable. I believe Apple dropped the price on them as well. So you're getting an enormous amount of power for $9.99 US, isn't it?
Yeah, you are. You are getting a lot of power. You're starting off with 16 gigabytes of unified memory now versus 8, which is good. You're getting the 10-core CPU, 10-core GPU. So it's a really good machine for $9.99 USD. For a base model, it's very, very good. For people out there that just want to do, you know, browsing the web, light photo editing, you know what I mean, some video editing, you can do it with the 16 gigabyte version. So it's impressive. Again, your storage capacity is what, 256. So, you know, you probably want to bump that up at least to 512. I mean, I always say 1 terabyte's the safe spot, kind of the middle of the road where you want to be.
Yeah,
at.
I agree.
But well, Bobby's mic is
totally agree.
As Matt's. Hold on a second, guys. Let me see if I can adjust that.
There we go. Hey, hi to John. Hi to Jim. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Here we are for the third weekly BAM pod. BAM pod.
Yes.
The BAM pod.
Okay, that might be too
as
loud
we
right
find our way, as we go work our way into the how do we do this and make an interesting universe that we're in. We have been talking about the brand new Sigma 300 to 600. We've been talking about the new Viltrox 135. We're currently talking about the new M4, very affordable computers. Who out there, let us know in the comments below, uses Mac versus PC? It's an interesting debate to me. You know, we don't have to get tribal about it. It's just a thing. And I think it's one of those things that you start, you know, like cameras, you start when you're young and you end up just sticking with it for the rest of your life, don't you, Bobby?
You do. I mean, I have a Windows PC. I'm actually reviewing the Surface Pro laptop right now. I'm testing that out. And I have to say, it is a really good machine. Let me test my mic here. I think I'm having a problem with my mic volumes. Because Jim was saying I'm low.
Or should I turn mine down? Although
No, you're fine.
Although my bars are good.
Fine.
I've got great green bars. As this is what Ecamm is telling me.
Okay, I think I'm a little hot right here. This should be better.
That's what I've heard people say, Bobby. Please let us know in the comments. You know, what sort of stuff would you like for us to talk about in a podcast like this, or a video cast like this? Because Bobby and I, we can talk about a lot of things. We were talking about Formula One before, Bobby, weren't we? We're talking about the Australian Open. Who loves tennis? John Ishii, Mac, hello, all the way Mac Mini Pro M4. Yeah, those Mac Minis, those M4 Mac Minis are absolutely crazy how powerful they are and how affordable. And you know, they're this big. They're ridiculously small. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm running one right now as well, and it is a phenomenal machine. This is such a cool machine. And I've got the M4 Pro, and it is a mini Mac Studio. I mean, this thing can handle a lot of what I do. As a matter of fact, I'm comparing it to my MacBook Pro M4 Max. I have a video probably coming out in the next day or two on this. And the M4 Max is probably about maybe 15% faster in terms of rendering or certain things. But when it comes to what we do a lot here on this channel, photo editing, things like that, Lightroom, Capture One, Photoshop, DxO, respectively. I mean, it's fine. It's more than fine. It's a beast. And it's so compact. You literally can take this thing with you, put it into your travel backpack, and you could go to a hotel, plug your HDMI cable in, you've got a full Mac experience. Or if you want, you've got Apple Vision Pro, just turn on automatic login on the Mac Mini, power it on, Apple Vision Pro sees it, virtual display in your Vision Pro. Again, that's an expensive it's an expensive display setup, but you can do that.
You can literally you can use the Mac Mini without a display because man, I love the idea of Apple Vision Pro. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
But I love it.
But it's so much fun. And when you get into panoramic photos with it, so if you like to shoot like 65 by 24 X-Pan mode or panoramic, for example, and you see the photos because it detects when it's panoramic and it gives you this whole immersive look. It's unbelievable for photos. Unbelievable. Look at John. John Ishii says, I pre-ordered the Fujifilm GFX-RF. I don't know what that is, John. Don't know what you're talking about. Is that the cinema camera?
Who did you pre-order that with? Has someone got pre-orders for that? But that's exciting. Congratulations. I hope it exists and I hope you get one. Aloha to Mozman. Welcome to the chat. Great to have you here. Yes, maybe John can tell us what he's put a deposit down on. That would be great. He can let us know in the comments below.
But John's also said what's up? What's up?
What else did you want to talk about in this episode of the BAM pod?
Well, I mean, right after that, we've got a couple more things obviously in the house. We've got the Lumix S1R2 that I've just got here.
Oh yeah,
for review. So, not to go too much on this because there's been a lot of talk on Lumix as of late. I'll wait for the videos to come on this, but I will say the build quality on this compared to, let's say, the S5 II, S5 IIX, you definitely feel the build quality on this one. It feels very solid. A nice camera. Size-wise, it's almost exactly the same. It's a little bit thicker because it's got that. I think there's a little bit more airflow, and obviously got the rear display where you can fully articulate, tilt up and down.
Yeah, show us that display. So that's the same that I think Olympus did it. Was it Olympus that did it originally? And then obviously Sony did it. Someone did it
actually Panasonic did it. I think they were the first with the S1H.
They were the first to do. Okay.
Yeah. so you can kind of go the
Okay.
full tilt experience. And then Sony
Yeah,
came out with
it's so
it.
good.
Yeah, it's great. I love this. Yeah.
So that's interesting that you say the build is even better than the S5 2X, because I think the build's pretty damn fine on that camera. So the fact that it's even better must mean it's sort of built like, I mean, it must be built like a Z9 or something. You know, it's sort of gotten to that tank level.
I would say Z9 is a little tank. That is a tank.
It's on its own planet. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I would say this is right up there with the Sony A9 III in terms of the build quality on that. The A7R5, the Alpha 1 Mark II. I would say probably in the Z8 range. You know, I would say it's in that build quality right there. So it feels robust enough to take around with you, but it's also got the weight. It's light enough to where you can throw this on a gimbal. You're not going to worry about it too much. And as a matter of fact, here's the gimbal that I tried. I tried this with the Z8 recently. This is the DJI.
Oh, yeah. Is that the new one?
This is the new one.
So jealous. Yeah.
It's so much fun. This tracking is so good, Matt. It is so good.
Okay.
It is so good.
I'm going to be getting myself one then. Well, they're not expensive. Even in this country, it's only $600, which is crazy. Yeah.
But I will say, if you put Alex, a Z8... Yeah, what's up?
Sorry. No, you go. Finish your sentence.
No, I was going to say...
Alex
Go. What do you got?
Alex has said when the Z5 II comes out, okay, if the Z5 II comes out, should they keep the current screen? My personal opinion on screens is they should all be like the one that Bobby just showed us. Every screen on every camera down to a certain price point, basically, is what I think. Now, I suspect that screen is quite expensive, so... Can a camera like a Sony a7 IV or something that's a bit cheaper, maybe in the Sony range, a Z5, whatever, an R6 II, whatever, are they too mid-low priced point? I mean, the R6 doesn't fit in that category. It's more like the R8. So would we expect to see it in an R8? I don't know, but I actually think it would be most useful for all photographers and videographers to have that style of screen, because then we literally get the best of every world. We get everything with that screen. So that's my answer. I'd love to see it in all. I'd basically love to see it in all full frame cameras. That would kind of be the cut off. Everything from full frame upwards, give us that screen.
I agree.
Like, I love the screen on the Z8 and the Z9. I think it's spectacular, but it just does inhibit a little bit that single operator who, like you and me, Bobby, we might be shooting on a Z9 or a Z8. And and look, I've never had a problem with the autofocus not working and all of that. It's actually more about whether the camera is rolling or not. That's actually where the problem lies more. And they could fix that with putting a tally light on the front. Like, that'd be one way around it that would be cheaper. And that would solve kind of 80% of my anxiety. But then you can see things like your audio levels. That's another thing that we can see on the screen. So it's actually not about focus. It's actually about, is the camera recording and are there audio levels? And they're the things that I get mostly trapped with when I can't see. Not framing and focus, but is it on and is there sound? Anyway, so to answer that question, Alex, I'd like to see all cameras have that style of screen.
Yeah, I would say this is that, I think would be nice if Nikon updated their mobile apps to really take advantage of video. Kind of what we're seeing from Lumix and stuff like that. I think the Lumix Flow app, where you actually have it's like an extension, like an HDMI monitor, where you can see all your waveforms. Then you can put your phone on top of your camera. At least when you're recording, you can see. Because that was one of the things for me. I actually used this gimbal and the side shot with the Z8, because I shoot with the Z9 here with my primary camera, right? And to match the color profile, I used the Z8 on this gimbal on the side of me, and I wanted that side shot, but I could not tell if I was in focus or not, or I couldn't tell what's going on because I can't see the frame, and I can't run an HDMI.
SnapBridge does what you're talking about. It'll give you a live video feed to your phone.
It was slow. It was slow and jumpy. It was not smooth.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
yes. I mean, okay, so it does it, but it doesn't do it at 25 frames per second or whatever. So that's fair enough.
No, yeah, the lag was so bad that I just, and then the connection is always dropping. It's always dropping. So I thought, you know what? Hopefully Nikon does address this, because obviously now with the, they're really pushing forward with video, that they really bring in a solid app that gives us this sort of extension. We're seeing it now with Sony. They're doing this. Other camera manufacturers are doing this. It'd be great for Nikon to do this as well.
Well, it's funny that you talk about video because there's a rumor that's dropped on Nikon Rumors that I think you wanted to talk about in regards to video and Nikon.
Yeah, let's do
You
that.
want to pull pull that rumor up?
Yeah, let's get there.
Yeah, John Ishii, exactly. Don't pick up the wombats because you might get deported. It's absolutely true. The funny thing is I saw a video of that woman holding an echidna, which is the same as a porcupine. They're covered in spines. They're dangerous. I don't know why you'd want to pick one of them up. But anyway, that's just a little Aussie aside there. So this is on Nikon Rumors this morning. And I suppose this is the sort of thing that all of us would think would happen. So we've obviously had Red cameras that now have a Z mount. And don't tell anybody, but I'm going to see one of those at a little event that's happening next week. I'm going to finally get hands-on.
We won't tell anybody, Matt.
Now, please don't tell anyone. I'm going to get my hands on a Red Z mount camera. So that's happening. That's that's out there in the world. Everybody knows about it. Very exciting. And I look forward to firsthand telling everybody what I think. So, but what's the next obvious move? That we get a Nikon camera with some Red technology in it, and this is what Nikon Rumors is talking about here. What do we think? Is this the direction that you'd like to see things go in? And I mean, I'm pretty sure that the FX30 and the FX3 are very successful cameras. And we know that films like, what was it called? Is it The Maker? No, not The Maker. What was that film, that big Hollywood film shot with the FX3?
Oh, The Creator. The Creator.
The Creator. I was so close.
Yeah.
So
you're there. You're in the ballpark.
This is like a $150 million Hollywood production shot on the camera that you can see on screen there right now. It seems like a pretty important space to get into from my perspective. And you work more you work in that film industry, Bobby. Have you ever seen an FX3 or FX30 being used? And my camera's just gone flat. I'll keep talking. I'm here. I'll get it fixed. You go, Bobby.
No, I've never seen it on the sets that I've been on, but I have done TV series where they've used the A7 III, respectively. So I'm just going to mute you real quick, Matt, while you're doing your thing. Okay, I'm just muting Matt for a second while he's moving around the room. But in terms of what I'm seeing on sets, I'm seeing a lot of, A7S IIIs once in a while for TV shows. When it comes to movies, I have seen Ronin 4Ds quite a bit and so forth. So there's Matt coming into play. Matt, we see you. He's bending over. Okay. Let me go to... There we go. Gotta love live. The backside of Matt.
There we go. And
there we go. We saw the backside of Matt right there. Okay.
That's worth the price of admission, isn't it? I tell you. But anyway, so you haven't seen it now that we're back and I'm back and my backside's gone, which is fantastic.
I was distracted by your backside. I was like, okay, here we go.
I'm sorry, Bobby. That's 10 seconds of video that should be removed from the internet. Anyway, we'll move on. So FX30 or FX3, you haven't seen them on any sets. I think we've lost Bobby permanently, so we'll just let Bobby laugh it out there for a little while. Yeah, well, so from my perspective, this is the next logical step. Nikon want to get into this space, and it would make a lot of sense. So, let's hope we see it. I think that rumor said something like it's still not anytime soon. So, yeah, it's interesting to me. Sorry, everybody, for my backside there.
It's all right. It's all right. You know what? Let's jump because we got some questions coming in here as we're going to this real quick. Classic Boy 97. What are your favorite lenses to use on a Lumix, especially? You have an S5 2X, right? As well.
I do.
What's your favorite lens on that?
Oh, so what are my lenses? Well, I've got the 50mm 1.8 because I just wanted to start with what I consider to be the most ubiquitous lens that probably everyone under the sun at some point in time owns a 50mm. I think through our photographic lives, if we're ever going to own one lens, it's going to be that lens, Yeah. And then I got a kit lens that came with it, which I think is a 24 to 60 or some weird focal length. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, 2060.
And that's it. I'm new to the L mount, so I'm still expanding my L mount range. I think you've probably got quite a few more L mount lenses than I do, Bobby.
I do. I mean, Classic Boy, if we want to go into the creme de la creme, you look at the Leica SL line for the L mount, and that's the 35 Oppo, which is unfriggin' believable. And you can do the 50 Oppo as well, the 75. If you want to look at Panasonic lenses, I would say the 51.4 S line is a beautiful lens. And I would say optically, it's very close to the SL Leica Summilux 51.4. So as a matter of fact, I've done some tests and they're very, very close to each other. The Leica has been discontinued. The Panasonic is still in the marketplace. It's a larger lens, but it's an absolutely gorgeous lens. And it just kind of gives you an idea of how good of a lens manufacturer Panasonic is. The 70-200 is also a really good lens as well. One of my favorite 70-200s. So those are the two. And obviously the smaller ones, the 85, the 50, as Matt is talking about here, that's also a really nice lens. Those are really compact, easy to put onto a gimbal, go around and shoot with, good optics. You can't go wrong, especially for the price point. Secondhand, they are a steal secondhand. And then the rumored the 100 millimeter f2.8, which I've never got my hands on. Everybody says this is it's a macro lens, but it's like this size for 100 millimeter f2.8, but it's very fast autofocus. Wow. I was talking to Ted Forbes about this, and he just raves about this lens. He's like, this is a phenomenal lens. So, and when Ted says it's a great lens, it's a good lens. Ted doesn't BS around. And so I'm excited to try that one out if I get my hands on it.
All right, you are a wealth of knowledge on L mount. I could talk like that about Z, but I can't talk that way about L.
That's what we bounce off each other, Matt. We're helping each other out along the way. I'll get you into the L mount soon. Well, I'm gonna get you poisoned by the L mount alliance. It's fun, man.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I just need to get some love from Sigma Australia. But anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Any other questions here? So far we're on that. Hassan says Sigma 65 f2 and 90 f2.8 are S tier. Yes, they're also fantastic lenses. Actually, the Sigma we talked about last week, as well as the I series lenses, as you're calling them, the f2 and the 2.8 are art glass, but in a kind of a contemporary cinema housing. So it's a unique combination from Sigma. So it is art glass you're getting from that, and the optics out of it are phenomenal, especially for the price point. It's not just good; it's great. It's really solid. Matt, get your hands on one of them. You're going to be very impressed. Come on.
Okay.
Use your strings,
John
Matt.
has a question.
Matt.
All right. I'm going to use my Australian influence and send them a copy of this video, especially highlighting that time code just 10 minutes ago. John asked us if and when DJI comes out with a mirrorless camera, will it be out of the ballpark killer? That's a really exciting and interesting question, John. DJI, clearly everything that they turn their hand to is beautiful, whether it's microphones, gimbals, or drones. They have always specified them to the max, and they come with these great. Like I have this here. This is like the kit that comes with this microphone set. This is So this is basically the two mics with. Sorry, I'm off camera. This is the two mics kit, and but not only do they send you that, and that's a beautiful metal box, but then you get this case which holds all your cables and everything else in it. So DJI and I think Bobby would agree, and everyone else would agree with this. They've totally taken a leaf out of Apple's book. Beautiful industrial design, beautiful accessory packages, beautiful packaging. Software that's very, very solid. They work on it really hard, and their products, they last. Like I've still got a drone that I think I bought in 2017, the Phantom 4 Pro, something like that.
Wow.
Still going. The laws in Australia are so harsh on drones that there's. If you want to buy a professional drone, they're too heavy, and then you can't really fly them you can't fly them in the places that you want to fly them. Anyway, So to circle back to what happens with cameras, well, we already know they make cameras, don't they? They make action cams. They make the Pocket, which I don't have the Pocket here, but I have the extended battery for it right here. The Pocket's around here somewhere. So all the pieces of the puzzle are here, and we know with the 4D the Ronin 4D that I believe they've started with the L-mount alliance now with that. So all of the pieces of the puzzle are here. That's a full frame sensor. They've got the technology. What an exciting thought that they actually jump, if they thought to jump into the 35 millimeter sort of stills mirrorless hybrid space. If there's one company that could start new and absolutely shake the tree, yes, DJI. And what I love about DJI is they do crazy things like the Ronin 4D, which no one would ever think of. Let's build a camera. It looks like a Sony. It looks like a Panasonic. It looks like the old Canon, shoulder-mounted camera. But wait, we are going to include a gimbal in this camera, and it's going to be like 12 grand, and you can shoot a Hollywood picture on it, and you don't need a $100,000 Steadicam anymore. Blah 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 blah. Insane, Bobby. Enough from me. Insane.
No. I am with you, Matt. I'm with you. I love what DJI is doing with their stuff, and if they do a camera system, I don't think they're going to do medium format because that would cut into the Hasselblad, which again I think they're predominantly
50% owner or 75% owner,
something like that. Yeah, something like that. Yep. So they probably would do full frame, which would make sense, and I think that would be a very interesting. It'd be very interesting in the market. Obviously, it'd probably be L mount, so at least there would be lenses there. They probably would release some lenses because they did for the Ronin 4D, but maybe they would just rely on the L mount alliance for that. But it could be interesting because they've got some great tracking. They've got the autofocusing technology. They have all that. If they can put that into a camera body, you never know. We say, is there enough camera companies out there? We talked earlier about Sigma doing a full kind of like a more traditional body. Does it make sense? Well, the same could be said about DJI. But if you've got the backing and you've got the technical know-how and you've got the optics and you've got all that into play, why not? See what happens. You might be surprising. You know what I mean? It's always good to shake things up a bit.
Yeah, look, in a way, I'd love to see it because I'd love to see what a company like that, which kind of, they've broken the rules when it comes to a few things. They've just gone, I don't know, this seems better. Like the 4D, I think is an example. And I think what they did in drones. When we think of drones and the explosion of drones, it was DJI were absolutely leading that. And then a lot of companies followed. Cameras like the Pocket 3. And I don't know if you're aware, but I bought a camera back in, 2016, which was called the Osmo. And it was just this ball on a gimbal. And this was one of their original kind of stabilized cameras. Unbelievable technology, and this was 10 years ago, and I did use it on my channel a few times. It was 4K. So nice. I'd just love to see what does DJI innovation bringing to a space where all of the camera manufacturers can be accused of the same thing, that they're repeating the same paradigm and approach. Now there is an argument that we've had 70 years of cameras being the shape. I happen to have this one on my desk. The shape that they are, and it's been refined and refined. And I would agree with that. A Z9 and R3, these are extraordinarily comfortable cameras. They're ergonomically right. How much more can that be refined or changed? But, DJI might think of something, and that would be exciting. Who knows?
Sigma came out with the BF. That's got people talking. So why not do something a little bit different with DJI? Never know. Probably have a gimbal in it, though. It will have awesome stabilization, whatever camera they bring. It will be stabilized and we'll be going, whoa, wait a second. This is awesome.
Yeah. And it's so use case specific, but that would be something that I would love and use. I'd be very excited about. Now, Classic Boy 97 is saying, thanks for the L-mount Rex. Yes. Another question, favorite overall APS-C products that you would personally use? Well, do you want to go first or shall I go first on the APS-C? Answer, Bobby.
Go for it, Matt. Go for it.
Okay, so look, I'm a guy that shot film, 35mm film since like 1982, maybe 81. And so it's a paradigm and focal lengths and frame sizes that I've been used to. When I get a 50mm lens, I know what it's going to do. And there was only a very short window that I shot APS-C, and that was from when I stopped using film in 2003 to when I bought a Nikon D3 in 2007. So there was only a 4-year window where I wasn't able to shoot 35mm, which means of that period of time we're talking about, which is over 40 years, 90%, more than 90% of it has been 35 mil. So 35 mil is where I personally go. So I don't know. Is it whether like if the question is what would I recommend, that might be different to what I would personally do. So you can let us know, Classic Boy, if you'd like to know what I would recommend. But there are some fundamental differences. I think there's a lot of conversation that, there's no advantage to, the people who are diehard APS-C users, there's no advantage to 35 mil. And I just think we end up butting our heads up against physics, because there is an advantage of having a larger sensor, and there's no two ways about it. Are companies like Fuji working very, very hard to reduce the gap? Sure, they're working hard. But I have heard people talk about the 40 megapixel sensor in an XT5 and in an X106 being, they're just pushing it too hard with the pixel pitch being so small. And when you start to talk higher ISO, these sort of things, there is an absolute physical end to how much light you can cut before. There is going to be a differential between the pixel pitch of your pixels and how much light they can capture, and then the impact of that on ISO, and then the impact of that on noise reduction, and then what does noise reduction do to what your files look like. And AI and everything else is mitigating this, but anyway, your turn, Bobby.
Well, I mean, I agree with you on a lot of this. I would say that if you go to my favorite APS-C camera thus far that I've used, I probably would say the XH2 from Fujifilm seems to be one that really, the ergonomics were really good. The image quality I was very impressed with, even low light performance I was impressed with. I work with and do a lot of videos with a guy named Ivan Joshua Lowe, also known as Fuji Fanboys, on Instagram and also on YouTube. And he's a Fujifilm X ambassador, as they call themselves. And when we did a video with that camera system, I was really impressed by it. Now, the X106, why I think it's not getting the love it would normally get with the 40 megapixel sensor is that the lens is the same lens as was on the previous ones. And so I don't think it was designed to optically take advantage of the 40 megapixel resolution. That's my guess. No, it's not. There's no hard evidence, but that's my guess based on what I saw from the images that I took with it, and also from feedback from other people, is that they felt it was a bit soft. And I think that has to do with the optics. So if there's an X107 that comes out in the next year or two, they probably will refine that to make sure that the optics match the resolution of the sensor, in my opinion again, right? But I think the XH2 with the right lenses is a really nice APS-C camera. It's fast enough, decent autofocus from what I experienced back in the day. I know obviously there's been some talk about Fujifilm autofocus, but it's a solid camera. And if you want something with really good depth of field, the 50, I think 1.2 or f1, for that matter, is an awesome lens. Really good portraiture lens. You can't go wrong with it. The 200 f2 as well. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options in the Fujifilm camp. So while I agree there's a limitation to APS-C, I mean, you can play around with it and get to the settings. Again, just like anything, when we get to high resolution full frame, we're also dealing with that pixel pitch issue as well. And what is the max we can go for full frame before we have to start reusing AI to sort of clean up our images? So the same falls in line with APS-C, but I think as the technology improves, we're going to see these sensors improve over time in terms of better processing of these higher megapixel images and less noise and all that comes into play. Sure, some of it will be software enhanced, but again, does it matter? End of the day, it's the end result. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and the other component, which I've lived my life shooting all of my lenses wide open, and there's obviously the depth of field difference that exists between APS-C and full frame, which is another thing that AI is sort of impacting. But anyway, look, there's certainly no bad cameras that you can buy today, and the advantages of APS-C is, lenses are smaller, although I think that's, when you look at Sony's range of lenses for full frame, they're some of them are becoming similar sized, to APS-C lenses. So, it'll be interesting, Bobby, over the next 5 years to see, for me, because I think another thing that's happening is lenses are getting smaller and full frame is getting cheaper. Like,
true,
it's you can get into full frame and get the advantages of full frame, and there you go. And so what used to be the advantages, which is lens size and more affordable, all of the areas as to why you would go to APS-C, I think, they're slowly being eroded. So it'll be really interesting from my, and I'm just being blunt here, but it'd be really interesting to see what, Fuji, because I suppose they've got the biggest investment in APS-C, what they continue to do to try and keep full frame from eroding their market. And what I see them doing is making beautiful retro cameras that are pocket cameras that people love, and so they're kind of hitting they're not hitting a technology point, they're hitting a nostalgia and portability point. You know what I'm saying? And so let's see what the next 5 years holds, because there's rumors, for example, that Canon are going to do a retro camera. Like, that rumor exists.
Oh yeah,
that's out there. And so, if you've got Nikon doing it, you've got Canon doing it. Who else has done sort of retro? I suppose. Are any of the OMD cameras, or any of OM? Sorry, are any of those
they all look retro. They all look retro. They all look sort of retro.
Yeah.
I think the OM3 looks very retro too. So I mean, it's sort of the trend, because I think, Matt, you're touching on a point that's important for photography. We want to enjoy using our cameras, and you want a nice, cool design. At the end of the day, you want a camera that you want to pick up and you want to take around with you, and you want to enjoy shooting. And John Ishii actually put a comment way back there about, he saw there was a BF discussion in Malaysia. He went to see it, and he said he doesn't understand who the BF is for exactly still. And John, it's kind of like a Leica M camera, right? Who's a rangefinder camera for in 2025? But there's a big market for it, because people love that essence of photography that is pure. And that's something that these cameras, they give you that purity factor. Even it may be a more modern design like the BF, or it could be something like the ZF or the Leica M, for example. They may not have all the bells and whistles of all the newer cameras, but they offer a sense of purity to photography again, or whatever discipline you're in, videography or photography, that makes it fun to shoot with. So I think that's kind of where I think as technology plateaus, design takes over, and it brings us into another forefront of photography. And that's why the X100 was such a popular camera. It's not the fastest camera in the world. It's not the best image quality. It's not the, whatever category, but it hits a look. It hits this essence of, I want to take the camera out and shoot. And that's what's fun.
And I totally think the BF fits in that category. 100%. Like the first time I saw it, and then you showed it to me, and I'm like, I'm just in love with it as a physical artifact. And some people invest in cars. What are all the different hobbies and things that people invest in? Well, I'm the sort of person who goes, maybe this is the most beautiful camera I've ever seen, and thus I just need to have it. Like, honestly, this camera fits in a similar category for me. It's so beautiful from my perspective. It happens to have great serviceability as well. Like, it's a very highly competent camera for its price point. But I got it because I love it. I love the way it looks. Yeah. And the BF totally fits in that category. The Leica fits in that category. And I think
Hasselblad as well. The 907X fits in that category. Beautiful camera.
Well, but it on top of that, though, it is medium format, and it still creates absolutely beautiful 16-bit files. So to me, the Hasselblad fits in this kind of dual space of being an extraordinary piece of hardware, along with being absolutely gorgeous. If we were to hazard a guess, what percentage of active photographers do you think buy one camera at some point in their career or hobby, that they buy it simply because they love the look of it? Not, they own a Z9, but they buy an X100, or they own an A1 and they buy a BF. And I reckon it would be quite a lot of us. Please let us know in the comments below. Have you ever bought a camera, not because you needed it technically, but because you just love the idea of it? And I reckon it might be 50%, which then becomes millions and millions of cameras. So it's a very valid market.
Sure it is. All right. So, Matt, I think you're on a hard out. You got to get going, right? You got a special lunch to go to today, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Where did the time go? That's right.
I'm telling you, right?
100% correct. It's suddenly 1:04 here. And I said I had to be out at 1. It's gone 1:05. Bobby, yes. All right.
Yes. All right, guys. So with that, we're going to call this a day for this. But, leave some comments in the comment section below, and we'll be back next week on Matt's channel as well, respectively. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And guys, thank you so much once again for the support. Watching this, like, subscribe on both of our channels. We greatly appreciate it. And we will continue this conversation because it's just getting going here today. And Matt will be back on yours next week. And I mean, let's just keep the ball rolling. And maybe we'll bring on a guest as well. Who knows? Someone that can talk more about APS-C and maybe sway Matt into the world of APS-C. Who knows?
Yeah. I need swaying. Good on you, Bobby. Thank you, everybody. It's been so good to see everybody today, and so fantastic to have your interactions and your comments. And Classic Boy sold his FX30. Well, you can tell us about that in the next episode. Thank you, Bobby. It's been great to be on your channel, regardless of what I'm doing here in my room. All right.
All right.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.